Well, Colorado's latest loss in the transfer portal is an absolute kick in the
You are Locked On Buffs, your daily podcast on the Colorado Buffaloes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? This is Locked On Buffs. I'm your host, Kevin Borba. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. We are also brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day for free and available wherever you get your podcast. So make sure you're liking, subscribing, following, becoming an everydayer. If you don't know what an everydayer is, they are my everyday listeners that tune in every single day. They comment, they like, they share. We have a lot of fun, and you should become an everydayer too, because this show's not possible without them. So let's talk about it without further ado. Colorado's been on a little bit of a hot streak as of late. I don't know if you've heard, but two-way star Travis Hunter has won pretty much every award that exists, it seems like, right? Except for the Thorpe Award. But hey, who needs one? Who needs that, right? Deion Sanders gave him his. Travis Hunter wins the Heisman, wins a bunch of other awards, and it's like, cool. Okay. They land which I'll talk about in a little bit. They land a portal. They make a portal addition. And they've been losing guys in the portal a little bit, but none of them really were, I won't say mattered, but none of them were going to be key contributors. None of them were key contributors this year. And I don't really envision a world where they're going to be key contributors next year. So today, when I see that Nikhai Hill-Green, the linebacker, who all Big 12 type guy, probably one of the hardest hitting players in college football, decides to enter his name into the portal, I go, oh, that's a kick in the you-know-what, right? He was so pivotal to Colorado's success this season. He stepped up in the run defense. He was a sure tackler, was second on the team in tackles, and they lose him. And I thought he'd be NFL bound, to be honest. And I mean, technically he still could be, I guess. He could always change his mind. I mean, these are young men at the end of the day, and I feel like they all change their minds quite frequently. Shout out to the transfer portal and decommitting and stuff like that. But losing to Nikhai Hill-Green, one, it's a huge blow for Colorado's defense, because if he, I didn't even think him returning was a possibility, in the sense of I thought he'd be NFL bound regardless, right? As soon as he started playing well, I'm like, okay, this guy's going to ride the momentum and go to the NFL draft. And that's not what we saw. And so not for Colorado, you're losing a guy who, if he returns, he's probably your best player on the team, or the best player on defense, excuse me. And he's probably your captain, probably has a D or an L on his chest for being a dog or a lead or whatever one works. It doesn't really matter, right? He's just that kind of guy where you could tell the players gravitated towards him, the coaches liked him, and he led by example on the field. And so Colorado loses a potential first team all Big 12 guy, potential All-American linebacker. But I think the bigger story here is we all know why he's leaving, right? Granted, okay, let me preface it this way. Unless something happened behind the scenes that we're not aware of, which based on the vibes from around the other like the team stuff, it seemed like this was not expected, right? It seemed like this was like a, hey, yeah, we're not really sure what happened here. I think this is I think Adam Munster Tiger, of 24/7 Sports, broke it down best, and I'll just read what he wrote. If the last four transfer cycles under Deion Sanders have taught Colorado fans anything, it's that the early stages of the transfer portal madness always results in some despair, but is then followed by a lot of celebration. He said Nikhai Hill-Green should be NFL bound. He should be a top 4 round pick in the 2025 NFL draft. He hit the portal today with 1 year of eligibility remaining. If he would decide to exercise that at another college program, it would be huge NIL money, in which case you can't miss with what you weren't going to have. If NHG does not play in the Alamo Bowl, that'd be a huge one for Buffs fans. He said he should finish out these things at Colorado, in his opinion. And he said he had a lot of fun covering them. And so it's one of those things where I think this is sort of an indictment on where college football is at right now, right? I think we're seeing a lot of players where it's just like, hey, who's going to offer me the most money? Not which program did I make memories with, not which program am I attached to, not which program gave me the opportunity. It's not what that's about. It's about maximizing your value. It's about maximizing your brand. And to the players, I guess, defense, if you will, until there's rules in place to limit this craziness and prevent the people from transferring out with the bowl games occurring in just days, or even the college football playoff occurring in just days. It's going to take some change by the NCAA or whoever the powers that be will. And so you can't be mad at Nikhai Hill-Green for chasing an opportunity, right? If he thinks he can boost his draft stock and make a lot of money next year, then so be it, right? I mean, if that's what he thinks is the best for him, great, right? We've seen it all the time. Jalen Mbakwe from Alabama, safety, 5-star, number 12 player in the country this past class. He literally just entered the transfer portal today, and reports say that there's a $7 million NIL deal waiting for him somewhere else, or a $7 million, seven-figure NIL deal waiting for him somewhere else, and there's a chance where he could play two ways. So clearly he's looking to build his brand and wants an opportunity. He said, or the report said, he wanted a guaranteed spot. That is Jalen Mbakwe. So these guys are going to do what's best for them. And until there's rules in place to sort of prevent guys from just hopping from school to school and from programs from back channeling nonstop and poaching these guys, nothing's going to happen. That said, it's a huge loss for Colorado, right? I think this is one of the bigger losses I think we've in the Coach Prime experience. I think this is one of the bigger losses, right? Because he was a guy who I think most people were expecting him to contribute. I think most people thought he'd go to the NFL, and if there was a chance he'd return to Colorado or return to college, I think 99.9% of people thought he'd return to Colorado. So you lose a key leader, a star player like Nikhai Hill-Green, and it's tough. It's a tough pill to swallow. That being said, Coach Prime is going to make some moves in the transfer portal. And now linebacker is even more of an important position, which I've been talking about it being in a position that they needed to target regardless. Now they need to target it even harder. Let's talk about who else they've lost in the portal. I'll give you guys a quick update just in case you missed that. So Nikhai Hill-Green is the headliner. He's the highest ranked guy in the portal right now with a 90 over, or excuse me, he's not yet graded. He was a 90 in high school, 4-star in high school. That's my mistake. I hate when they write their ratings and it's not the transfer portal rating yet. Anyway, Nikhai Hill-Green in the portal, Ethan Boyd in the portal. I don't think he played much, if at all, for Colorado this season. Transferred in from Michigan State. Destin Wade, which is of the Wade twins, that's the one that plays quarterback. He's in the portal. Tyler Johnson, who was expected to be a key contributor on the offensive line and really didn't do anything. He's in the portal. Deion Hayes, he was a guy that came from Pitt, said he wanted to win games. Some injuries kept him off the field. I think he kind of got lost in the shuffle. Asad Wasim, wide receiver. Jeremiah Brown, linebacker, which I actually think he is he took his name out of the portal today, which I'm pretty sure is what I saw. So if they get him back, that's some solid depth right there. And then you have Adonis Forrest Jr., who's a safety. Yakiri Walker, who I don't think most Colorado fans have the most fond memories of him because he was live tweeting or live posting, kind of talking that what about Colorado after he quit the team. Peyton Kirkland, offensive lineman, transferring from Texas. Jordan Avonahue, wide receiver, who was one of the guys that Coach Prime was hyping up. Morgan Pearson, tight end. Cordell Russell, which is Baby T.O., never saw him play. I think he has a ton of potential. We just have not seen him be healthy. Rayan Buell, Walter Taylor, and then Johnny Chaney Jr. So Colorado's seen quite a few departures. I wouldn't say outside of Nikhai Hill-Green, I don't think any of them, and Deion Hayes maybe, but Deion Hayes wasn't like a star player. He was just a contributor. Most of these guys are guys you can live with losing. I'll just put it that way. It's nothing against them. I just think Colorado has an opportunity to bring in more depth pieces and more players who probably can make an impact more so than these guys did. When we come back, we're going to be talking about some portal moves that Colorado is making, not losing. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5. That's Cinco 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of those things and get $150 in bonus bets. If you win, the FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with an official sportsbook partner of the NFL, FanDuel. Welcome back to Locked On Buffs. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts. So make sure to like, subscribe, follow my everyday. Show wouldn't be possible without you. You comment, you like, you subscribe, you share, and we have fun. Let's talk about some portal moves that Colorado is making, because they're making some. Sorry for those of you listening. I had to get a sip of water. Colorado has made one transfer portal addition thus far. Obviously, I expect it to be way more, but hey, you got to start somewhere, right? And it's one of those things where this is a position where I said, hey, I think Colorado needs to attack this position in the portal. And people were like, no, we have this guy, or we have this guy. And it's like, the coaches go after someone. And I'm like, this is why I said that, right? So they brought in a center by the name of Carter Miller, who I'm sure you guys aren't dialed into guys who are playing center. Was at Louisiana Monroe. Overall grade on PFF, not the best, 58.4, but he had a pass blocking grade of 76.7. So pretty good there. He also, if you look at his breakdown, he played in every single game. He's a guy that I think as a junior, 6'2", 300 pounds, should come in at the very minimum depth. He could also play the guard positions. So maybe Cash Cleveland holds on to that center job, and maybe Carter Miller moves over to left guard or right guard, wherever it is, whatever they see fit. And so it's one of those things where if you're Colorado, you like the depth, right? You need more depth on the offense line, because I know people like to toot the horn of this offense line was better than last year's, right? And you're not wrong. That being said, the offense line still was bad, right? Jordan Seaton was the lone bright spot for the most part of the year. Cash Cleveland was a bright spot at the end, but he didn't play all year. So you got two guys who were freshmen who were the bright spots, which, I mean, not bad. But the rest of the line just was not very good, right? They were still gave up. Deion Sanders was still the third most sacked quarterback in the country. Colorado had no sign of a run game, and there was just issues on the offensive line. And I think part of this is you get a guy like Tyler Johnson or Peyton Kirkland or whoever it is, and you're like, okay, maybe these guys who either have played at bigger program, or not bigger programs, but who have played some serious snaps or were a highly touted recruit, maybe with more opportunity, they could play well. And it's just like, we didn't get that from them. So you lose some experience and depth there, but you add some depth here with Mr. Carter. So not too bad of an addition, Carter Miller, that is. Not too bad of an addition. I think he comes off as a tough, gritty, physical guy, and I think Colorado needs tough, gritty, and physical guys in the front. Excuse me. So that's the addition. Let's talk about the guys who they are trying to add. Because they are trying to take some big swings, and I'm loving it. So the two biggest ones right now that I think we need to focus on are Colorado, yes, of course. Caden Salter, the quarterback. He's one of those guys where you need a guy to come in, replace Shedeur Sanders, replace that production, challenge Julian Lewis, right? If Julian Lewis wins the job, then so be it. You have one of the better quarterbacks in the country, or someone who has been one of the better quarterbacks in the country as a backup. If Julian Lewis doesn't win the job, well, you have one of the better quarterbacks in the country leading the way. And so Caden Salter, he's a record-breaking quarterback, led Liberty to a 13-1 record in 2023, 8-3 this past year. Dual threat type of guy. Colorado's in the mix for him. He's currently on a visit. And then they're also going to host Mr. Kevin Casey Concepcion, a wide receiver transfer from North Carolina State. He really liked his Alabama visit. I think there's a lot of buzz around him in Alabama. And so I think we're going to truly see how big or how impactful Colorado's season was this past year, right? Because they won games. And I think that was kind of like the knock on them was like, okay, is Deion Sanders really going to is he really going to turn things around, or is he just going to be all sizzle, no whatever, all, you know what I'm saying, all sizzle, no steak or whatever. One of those things where I think people were doubting if Coach Prime could actually win games, or if he was just going to be like a guy that was really cool and everyone was hyped about him, but not really what he's doing. So I think if they get these two guys, that would be a massive addition. Great start to the class, though. Like what I'm seeing. When we come back, we're going to be talking about Travis Hunter's future in the NFL. This episode of Locked On Buffs is brought to you by the College Football Playoff. It's that time of the year. The College Football Playoff is back, and with a newly expanded 12-team format, it's guaranteed to be bigger and better than ever, bringing you all the hard-hitting and high-flying excitement that you love. TNT sports coverage of the College Football Playoff begins December 21st, starting with the College Football Playoff kickoff show presented by AT&T at 11 a.m. Eastern, leading into our first matchup. The the Southern Methodist University Mustangs battling the Penn State Nittany Lions at noon. Then the Clemson Tigers look to upset the Texas Longhorns in a showdown at 4 p.m. Eastern. Don't miss a moment of the action. Watch the College Football Playoff presented by Allstate live on TNT, True TV, TBS, and Max. So, everyone, welcome back to Locked On Buffs. I appreciate you guys for tuning in every single day, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow. Let's talk about Travis Hunter's future in the NFL. I think he's going to be a top 5 pick, surefire thing. I would say the lowest he could fall is 5, the highest he could go is 1. I don't see him going as the number 1 pick simply because there's such a need for quarterbacks, and this quarterback class is absolutely ridiculously bad after Shedeur Sanders and Cam Ward. So if a team at 1, say it's the Patriots, for instance, and they're like, we got Drake May. We just drafted him last year. We don't need a quarterback. I imagine they're going to trade down, right? They're not going to just draft Travis Hunter with the first pick when they could trade down 2 spots, if you will, get Travis Hunter, and then also get some draft compensation. However, on top of where is he going to go, the biggest debate is what position will he play? And according to anonymous GMs, they are saying they see him as a corner, right? I think that's they said he has elite ball skills, and it's just so hard to find a shutdown corner like that. Even though, and I thought this was interesting, even though everyone views him as a corner, they do think that wherever he goes, we'll sprinkle him in at receiver. So really, really interesting there. I think I don't know what position I foresee Travis playing. If I were Travis, right, I'd want to play receiver because the one thing about being a corner is, one, I don't feel like, I mean, it's obviously a harder position. It's one of the toughest positions in sports, right? You have to keep up with the fastest athletes, the best athletes in sports, and you can't touch them, right? And also, there's a lot of rules that really help out the offense. Let's also look at the pay, right? I think a lot of people don't really register, but a receiver is getting paid a lot more than a corner. I think there's a lot of people who are like, you shouldn't do it for the money, blah, blah, blah. Well, the average salary for an NFL wide receiver is around $30 million per year, with players like Justin Jefferson, and this is guaranteed contracts. So this is quite insane. These are wide receiver contracts. Justin Jefferson, $140 million. Devontae Adams, $140. CeeDee Lamb, $136. Like, these guys are making the big bucks. And we'll go average salary by NFL position. And we're going to see, obviously it's going to be quarterback 1. I'm sure there's going to be some guys who I think at tackle probably get a lot. But yeah, I'm pretty sure it's going to be quarterback, tackle, pass rushers. And it's one of those things where we kind of grow to expect this. So tier 1 of quarterbacks, $50+ million, your Burrows, your Herberts, the tier 3 guys, Ryan Tannehill, if you will. This is a story from last year, the year before, 15 to 20. Running backs, right? Or we don't need to go over running backs. Tier 1 wide receivers, 28 to 32 million. Tier 2, 21 to 28. Tier 3, 13 to 20, which tier 3 they, at this time was considered OBJ, Calvin Ridley, Marquise Brown, and Gabe Davis. Now let's go on over to the corners, right? Because this is obviously a battle of where he's going to play. The tier 1 corners at this time were considered Trayvon Diggs, Patrick Surtain, Stephon Gilmore, 12 to 16 million. Tier 2, 8 to 12. Tier 3, 5 to 8. So if Travis Hunter becomes a tier 1 wide receiver, which I mean, I think he's more than talented enough to do that, he would be paid 28 to 32 million. If he's a corner and he's the best of the best, he's going to be getting roughly 12 to 16 million, maybe a little bit more, but obviously there's a huge difference there. So I think Travis Hunter, if I were him, I'd want to play receiver. I know he wants to play both ways. If I were him, I'd figure out a way to play more receiver. That way people pay you as a receiver and not as a corner who also plays receiver. That's just my take on it. You guys comment below. What position do you think Travis Hunter should play? I appreciate you guys for tuning in to Locked On Buffs, making me your first listen of the day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcast. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow.